Station 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of seniors, the CEO of the local Senior Center is here. Kevin MacDonald, welcome again.
Hello, great to be with you both.
Yes.
It's good to have you back, Kevin.
Thanks.
So what's going on over there at the Senior Center?
Oh, ho, ho.
What's going on at the Senior Center?
You mean what's going on?
Right. I do want to take a moment because I want to reflect to last week, what happened last week.
Yeah.
We called last week Veterans Week.
Okay.
Veterans Day was Saturday, of course, the 11th. But we really tried to make emphasis to honor the seniors that are also veterans at the Senior Center.
And there's a lot of them.
And there's a lot of them. And we talked to some people. We encouraged all of our staff to walk up to a veteran who had their hat on, which is the most obvious in some way. Our proud veterans are wearing their hats with what era they served in. And I met a gentleman and just listened to his story. And he ran 27 trucks through Vietnam.
Wow.
And he was in charge of them. And during the holiday season and everything else. And he was just so proud of what he had accomplished. And I learned a lesson. You don't ask about your rank too much because he didn't have a rank.
Right.
He did all this great work,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't give him a rank until he was on the plane ride home.
Huh.
And then they gave him a rank.
Yeah.
But Joe, just a really nice guy to listen to his stories. And last week they were honored. The Chamber of Commerce hosted a great event, Salute the Patriots, which they do every year at the Senior Center, honoring veterans that night at Bella Vita in our ballroom.
Nice.
And we are so proud to have them. And Ivan and John put this package together to honor people. And it was a great night to honor the veterans. And then we tried to do something at the Senior Center on Thursday for lunch. And we gathered all, and we had a special ceremony with Ken Asom, who's our coordinator for veterans, and shared some thoughts about and our thank yous to them. The special part for me is I was able to get off the stage and walk around the ballroom. And there's 300 people in the ballroom at the time, and go up to each and every veteran and ask them their name and what branch of service.
Wow,
Nice.
that must have been such a thrill.
And I took my time because everybody was special. And so you didn't have to say what rank you were. That wasn't important. Like so many people from the Air Force, and the Marines are celebrating their birthday.
Right.
So they were going crazy every time there
Yeah.
was a Marine that was introduced. And they were and the men and the women and the years behind them. And some of our veterans want to share their stories and some don't, and that's okay. But this wasn't telling. It was more, we just want to tell you who we are, and we're proud to serve this country. And that was special for us. And all we had to give them was a special apple pie dessert that nobody else got except veterans.
Right. Not a Chevrolet.
Nope.
Not even a baseball.
Nope, but they got a great apple pie from our chef.
Okay.
But that was, and then of course Veterans Day was on Saturday. So just a good time to reflect. And I think each and every Veterans Day gets more and more special. And that's what we try to do to thank those who have served.
Nice. Yeah.
So that was happening last week. And then we're getting geared up for Thanksgiving, which is next week. We were just talking about how time is flying by. And as you know, Thanksgiving is a special time, a good time, and sometimes a rough time for people going through the real start of the holiday season. So we're very sensitive to those during the holiday season. So we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. We've already changed the colors in the ballroom, and we do something next week. So on Tuesday, we get to distribute turkeys because the Rotary Club of Santa Clarita is giving us turkeys to distribute. They do it for several charities. So I'm not sure how many turkeys we're getting, and my staff have identified those in most need of receiving a turkey and those that can cook it. And that's what they're doing. And I'll be picking them up on Tuesday from the Rotary Club, which is very, very nice.
That is
That's
nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah, just those simple little gestures. And then
But they mean so much.
yeah, they do.
They really do.
And we get the
amazing.
thank yous, and we deliver them right to their home and things like that. So it's really nice. And then Wednesday, Stephanie English from Supervisor Catherine Barger's office,
Nice.
our supervisor, came, and her staff is coming to help give meals out on Wednesday afternoon. They are going to be the servers in the dining room. They're going to be handling the drive-through for us, and their local staff is coming out because they want to give back. And that's a great way for them to meet everybody. And they don't want any notoriety. They just want to serve the seniors on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Wednesday is standard meal service, but Catherine Barger's staff is serving it.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, you're having Thanksgiving.
Well, we kind of have Thanksgiving on Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah,
we
that's
cheat
where
a little bit.
okay,
Yeah, we
okay,
cheat a
okay,
little bit.
okay.
Yeah, Wednesday we're having the ham. On Thursday we're having the turkey.
There you go.
No one's going to argue with that. There's pumpkin pie both days, I hope.
Okay.
At least in my hope. But anyway, supervisors, Barger staff's going to come out and celebrate that with us. And then on Thursday, actual Thanksgiving Day is really a unique tradition because the Castaic Lions Club, now it's called Castaic Santa Clarita Valley Lions Club, they come in force and support us as we do a Thanksgiving, kind of an early lunch. And it's for about 300 people who really need a lunch that day, and for people to gather. So it's not for those individuals who are going to have a feast with their family later in the day.
Right.
We're really targeting at seniors who are in need and want to gather around and have fellowship that morning. So we serve that. And Castaic Lions Club, they fund it. They come and help serve, and many volunteers come in. And my staff is all cooking and working that day because we know Thanksgiving is one day we can give back that way. So we've been doing it for many years. Flo Lawrence, the late Flo Lawrence, and Alan Cameron started the whole project many years ago. And we continue in their tradition, and their families keep coming out to say, no, let's make it a special Thanksgiving. We can do this. And like I said, our kitchen's open and we're going. So there's reservations for that. And last time I checked, they were close to 250. Wow. So we'll bring in a few more people, then wrap it up at 300 for that day.
And then is that the last meal of the day, or you're doing something after that?
No, that's it.
That's it.
We have a little bit of early kind of lunch brunch with all the fixings and everything else. What's also happens that day is our Meals on Wheels drivers come in because we have about 240 people who are on Meals on Wheels who said, can I get a special Thanksgiving lunch that day?
Oh, so good.
And all these volunteers come in. These are all volunteer drivers, and they come in on that Thursday morning. And we need about 20 of them, and they come and get on our little cars and run around the community and deliver a hot Thanksgiving meal to those that are homebound.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Really some nice things happening. Yeah.
And speaking of nice, I just got to give you your dues. Kevin, so my mom's back east, right? New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And I suggested, we have an amazing senior center here. You should check out, what your situation is there. And I got to tell you, it's nothing like what you have here. Senior centers are not the same everywhere. I don't know what they're like everywhere, but I can tell you there is a night and day difference. You're doing an amazing job here in Santa Clarita that I don't know is being done anywhere else. But when I was hoping that she would get some kind of an experience like you provide, and it's just not there. So I do want to really say how much I appreciate what you do here at Santa Clarita Senior Center, because I know it is an exceptional place. You're doing an exceptional job there.
Well, it has improved so much. My goodness. When Russ and his group started it in the early 80s, I mean, it was over at the county area on Market Street. And that place was a shambles, an absolute shambles. I mean, the wood up in the ceiling was cracking, it was amazing, but they fixed it. They got it, they got it fixed up so that it was, you were over there.
I was over there for a couple of years before.
Yeah. Well, it had been fixed up tremendously.
Yes, they did. They did a great job. It was a free county property, and it served well for 40 years. And we had just outgrown it, and luckily we were able to start building the new center in time for the explosion of seniors coming through. But
there's so many seniors up here. They're moving up here at a rapid rate because they know this is a fantastic community for them. It's senior friendly. It really is.
And it's a great city to be in with all the city support that we get as well.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. Well, we have a few seniors on the city council, too.
Yes, we do. But going back to your mother from my home state of New Jersey, we should talk more because we're happy to share some of our projects and some of the things we do and how we're funded with other senior centers.
Yeah,
so,
please.
We'll talk to your mom and we'll get her location and see what we can support them because we did like to share our model because they're
Yeah,
kind of working
please.
as a private nonprofit model. Many of the senior centers, most of them in the county are run by the city or by the county.
Right.
We have the fortunate to have a lot of flexibility to be a private nonprofit. And that's what kind of works for us with our model going forward. So we're very fortunate.
Oh, yeah.
And, when you have a city that supports you tremendously and you have the county that supports you and the state government does and the federal government, it's kind of nice. And then, of course, the donors in the community who we continue to reach out to, who believe in us and they can see our work every day and say, no, come on and make a donation to the senior center.
And they do.
And they do.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
No,
absolutely.
The people in this valley are very, very grateful and they show it. And it's really nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting older here. I won't say old because I'm not old. I'm just older.
I am.
All right.
I'm feeling pretty old these days.
We'll bring him around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I need to go to the senior center more. get some
You need
some of that
to hold
youthful
you up
vitality.
underneath your arms, huh?
Right now,
Well, you could always
I
use a
look forward
walker.
to nap time. So what does that say?
Nap time. I have never napped during the day ever in my
Really?
entire life.
Well, I don't get a chance to, but I sure would like it here and there.
Well, you're a working guy still.
Yeah, that's
you know.
true.
I mean, one of these days you will retire. I'm assuming.
Really? Is that a promise?
Well, let me tag off on that one,
Okay.
Doctor.
Yes, yes.
As you're getting older, I turn very old next week
Oh.
because I officially become a senior in terms of receiving a meal at the senior center.
Oh.
Because I turn 60 next week. You're not going to sing to me now. But it's a special time that I want to share with people because at the age of 60, due to a great federal law that was enacted back in 1973 called the Older Americans Act, not to give you too much history, but it was a law that said if there's food available through a senior center, whatever else, that Americans who are seniors can get one nutritious meal a day. And that started the whole movement of having meals and Meals on Wheels in this country, which is a beautiful act.
Yeah.
And that's called the Older Americans Act. So as of next Wednesday, I have to sign a county form, about 6 pages long, but that gets me engaged so I can get a free meal if I choose, or I make a donation to the senior center for the meal, which is even nicer, to get that nutritious meal a day. And it really opens up all the possibilities that are available. And that's what I'm trying to share about my
Sure.
birthday because it's 60 is not going to roll around again. So once I
Right.
get in there,
Once you get there, you
I
have
finally get nutritious meal that I haven't made for myself in many decades, which is nice.
If you eat outside of the senior center, you can get dinner at 4.
Right. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Whatever that. But I also want to share, coming into the senior center, we just produced a nice video on this, says all the things I can do.
Yeah.
So I can walk into the senior center, besides getting a nutritious meal, I can do the yoga class at 1:00. I can do chair Pilates at 9:30. I can play cards with the seniors. I can do all these other things. So it's kind of like my transformation. Now I can work and kind of be a senior in the same place. So just a lot of opportunities and a lot more education that's available for seniors in the Valley. We have a great health and wellness lecture series. Happens every Wednesday, and most people don't know about. And today they're talking about some of the drugs and the drug interactions. Next week, it's about loneliness and happiness during the holiday season and how to emotionally deal with that and all those struggles that people go through because many have lost their loved ones going into the holiday season. And next Wednesday, people can sign up. They can either do it by Zoom or show up in person and listen to some really, really good presenters.
And that's the hardest time of year,
Sure.
the holiday season, when you've lost a loved one. It really is, and it's
Yeah.
the same for all of us, And but I did want to mention your emotional support group. That is a great group to go to. It really is, because there's a group of us who sometimes there's some new ones who come in, but it's a time to talk about what happened during your week, And for the past 2 weeks, I lost a son. 1 week that I was able to share. And of course, the son that I have still alive was this past week. And things like that you can share. And it is so rewarding to go to that group. It really is. It's just wonderful. And every week something new has happened to each of us there.
Mhm.
Something has gone on. And it's always so interesting to listen
Right.
to what has happened and know that, gee, that happens to me too, or that somebody else experienced the same thing I did, And it's a very warm, caring group. All of us there. I just thoroughly enjoy it. We
Well, I
really do.
think you've added to that group, Barbara, because of your experiences that you bring to that group too. So if everyone brings it and everyone shares their experiences, it makes it more valuable.
Well, that may be true because I've been involved with the Senior Center since it began because of Russ mainly.
Right.
And what's her name? Who just had a birthday? I never can think of her name. I can see her. I can't think of her name, but she was involved too, and so was Antonovich and Joanne Darcy. And there were a whole bunch of us who were involved because Russ was a school principal, and he kept hearing from younger kids there about how their grandparents weren't doing so well. And that's when the group got together with the county and the city and
Right.
and decided, wait a minute, we need to do something for seniors up here. And that's how the Senior Center got started. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened.
We
Really
agree.
was. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thanks for bringing it to fruition now.
Well, it's interesting because the food there has always been good. So I used to go over there and eat at the old building
Mhm.
and eat in the in that monstrous room. Of course, it isn't as monstrous anymore, is it?
No. Well, we had our salmon day last Thursday and broke all records. So yeah, the
Did
chefs are doing a great job, and our cooks there, we're talking on the air, and they've been there since 5:30 in the morning cooking the
Yes.
food for Meals on
Yes.
Wheels goes out first, and then the rest of the folks come in. So and today's fish taco day, so it's a popular day. So they're eating fish tacos.
So tell me about the record you broke.
The record we broke was basically how many people came into the ballroom that day, the highest number since COVID. And it was really windy that day, but they still came for the delicious salmon. And then through our drive-through service, they had almost 900 people come through our drive-through service just to pick up meals. And of course, you have to register, but they're coming for the food. They're coming for what they need. And a lot of people come and take our classes and then take a meal to go home with. And that's okay with us too. So lots of different options. And then the Meals on Wheels keeps growing because we keep getting the word out that it's available to the homebound. And we're very strict in our criteria that you really do have to be homebound. We have actually counselors that go and assess you in your home to make sure you're homebound and you need these meals. And that's important. And that continues to grow because the need is still out there.
Yeah, I don't think that is ever going away.
No, but we need to share that information. I think
Sure.
the best thing we could do to our audience here today is if you know someone who's homebound that they can get a meal. Our drivers are out there doing their routes all over Santa Cruz Valley and all over the Antelope Valley. We're the number one.
661-259-9444.
You got
That's
it.
stuck here for my entire life. I'll never forget that.
We want to share that information so we
Yes.
take care of all the homebound that we know of and we don't know. We need our community to speak up for them.
And I've also started doing another volunteer job at the Senior Center is calling seniors who are homebound.
And how's that going?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I try to call at least 5 people a day. I have a list of 21, I think Rita gave me, 21.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just so happy to hear your voice. Thank you so much for calling. And then, of course, some people don't answer the phone at all. It goes to the machine.
Right.
And that's happened with 5, 6, 7 of the people that I call.
So Kevin,
Yeah.
real quick, contact information for the senior hour. Barbara gave us the number. How else do we get in touch with the
That's the
Senior
best
Center?
way to give us a call.
Okay.
Or you can reach our website at myscvcoa.org.
Awesome. And that will have all the schedule, all the classes.
All the schedule, register for everything. Come and join us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kevin MacDonald, Senior Center, Bella Vita, right?
You got
Bella
it.
Vita. You're listening to the Senior Hour at KHTS FM 98.1 AM 1220, HometownStation.com.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And now our guest is one of our sponsors. from Comfort Keepers in Home Care.
Woohoo!
Myles McNamara, how are you doing, kiddo?
I'm well. Good to see you, sports fans.
It's good to have you back, Myles. So what do you have in store for us today?
Well,
What's going on
I
over
have
at
some
Comfort
stuff
Keepers?
in store. Well, as you know, I always like to
What,
start.
what do you mean out of store? You're not in store
No, I
now.
said I've
You're
got
out
stuff
of
in
store.
But like, as I always do for folks, our longtime listeners probably get bored of this, but as a just quick overview for the folks who have never listened as far as what home care is, because we're not nurses and, we're personal aides, if you will. So our comfort keepers, our caregivers go into the home and we help our seniors stay in their home safely. We help them with all their activities of daily living, help them with meals and showering and personal hygiene and errands and house cleaning. So anything they need to stay in their house safely, that's what our caregivers
And
do.
comfortable.
And comfortable,
Say.
i.e. comfort
Yes.
keepers.
Yes.
So a lot of folks get us confused with home health and, we're home care. We are a licensed industry, but we're not nurses. We're not medical folk. We interface a lot with the medical folks that are maybe involved in a client's life, i.e. hospice or home health or anything like that. But we are the personal aid. We're basically the adult child. If you think about if you have aging parents and you go visit your parents, you spend a lot of your times maybe doing chores, cleaning the house, going shopping, helping them, with the stuff that, we can help with so that our adult kids can now go over and spend quality time with their parents. So that's sort of what we do. And this is the time of year, again, our long-term listeners probably I visit this once a year, but as you know, next week is Turkey Day. And Thanksgiving stats show is the one holiday a year that's the highest percentage of families coming together. So a lot of folks are going to be seeing their aging parents for the first time in probably a year since last Thanksgiving. Lots of conversations on the phone, maybe even a FaceTime here and there. But it's really easy to mask cognitive and physical decline, on the phone.
Very easy.
If you think about it, when you talk to somebody, you're usually in a hurry. So you're going to talk about the weather. You're going to ask how the kids are. And as cognitive impairment increases, folks are very good at masking that. They can talk about that weather. They can say the kids, but maybe not call them by names. And so anyway, as we come together in person for the holidays, this is the time of year I tell people to really don't be a bull in a china shop. Don't go in there like you're some kind of know-it-all savior or what have you, but you really need to observe how your aging loved one, parents, grandparents, whoever are doing. And I call it the season for the five senses. It's basically, I write them down because I can hardly remember them, but the sight, smell, touch, taste, and sound is when you walk into your parents' home, or if they're visiting you, you might not have an ability to see their living environment, but to really pay attention as far as sight is how do they look? Have they lost weight? How's the order of their home? Do you see stacked up and past due bills? You remember mom and dad being very meticulous and cleaning it, having everything in great order, but now things are a little mussy. Dad's hair's not combed. Mom's worn the same outfit a couple days in a row. So these are things you can start, and smell too, with their personal hygiene. Have they bathed? Is their personal hygiene what you remember? Give them a hug and see if they've lost 10 pounds under that baggy sweater they're wearing. And then just, again, being respectful, not the bull in a china shop is check the refrigerator. Is there spoiling food in there? Something that mom would have never allowed to happen. Is they're cooking, if they're going to participate with you over the Thanksgiving, let them participate. See if, they can actively still, participate in their old recipes. Let them cook something on their own so that you can see, because as we age, our taste buds decrease. So are they oversalting something? And sodium's not really good for seniors or anybody really, but as we get older, especially our sodium intake. Let them prepare their favorite recipe and then taste it. How does it taste? Are they over seasoning something because of their decreasing taste buds, as we all have as we grow older? If you're going to run to the grocery store, if they're still driving, let them drive. So you can kind of observe, and I'm mostly talking about adult kids, but we also have folks our own age, that, there is no age for cognitive decline or physical decline. There's early onset dementia. There's no particular, obviously as we get older, the percentages rise, but, we could be talking if we're in our 60s and 70s when we visit a friend or a brother or a sister who's 60, 70 plus years old now. You may, observe something going on there as well. So it's not just our parents. As we age, our friends around us we're all in that same boat together. So really pay attention. And, is their driving skills, is it dangerous? I mean, are they doing okay? Do they have good mobility in their neck to check their blind spot? There's just a plethora of things that you can observe to see since maybe it's been 2 years since you've seen them,
Right.
and so what has changed since that last physical connection, that may be a red flag, that may be something that you want to have a conversation about, again, very respectfully, low key, don't go in there telling them what needs to be done. And this is what I project your life will be from this point forward. But also at this point in time, we've talked about it before. We hope we've had that roadmap discussion already with our loved ones. What does that journey look like for them as they say, we all get older. None of us can fight that. What does that map look for me? Do I want to stay in my own home with possible home care to give me a helping hand? Do I want to go to an assisted living? What is your plan? And so as that starts to mature and move forward, the decisions have been made, so there's no last minute huddle, arguing, what have you. So really make that plan. But Thanksgiving is that time of year that most families come together. I know my mom, before she passed, I talked to her on a weekly basis at least. And the conversations were pretty redundant. We were pretty repetitive. And so it was almost like she could have fooled me. I did get up to see her a lot so I could do the things I've just talked about. But you don't go into depth, that conversation is very superficial. You just talk about things and I hate to say it, but again, life is busy. So a lot of times it's an obligatory call. You're on and off the phone in a few minutes. So you're not really delving into anything with detail or depth. Not always the case, but unfortunately, most of the time, everybody's busy. So have that turkey and really have a time to use those five senses to kind of absorb what your aging loved ones are looking like, feeling like, talking like, what's their health, that type of thing. And if you haven't had that talk about what your long range journey looks like, don't do it over the table, but maybe at some point during the long weekend, broach that conversation and say, hey, what do you see happening in 5 years? What do you want to do? Do you want to keep the house or sell it and go to assisted, whatever it is, have that conversation. I've said it on the show before, people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan.
Yeah,
So-
well, it's
That's
uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable conversation.
is.
It's an uncomfortable thought. And we are hardwired to avoid pain. So we're going to avoid the painful conversations until we're forced to deal with them. And that's always the worst strategy in every situation.
And it's obviously in the couple decades I've been doing this, I try to walk the talk, not just talk the talk, is it is painful and uncomfortable unless you have it before it's an issue.
Right.
And I did that with my mom. She lived alone. My brother and sister lived in the area, but she had her own home. She was alone. And so we were just sitting there, I'd gone up to visit. I don't recall if it was a holiday or not, but we're just sitting on the couch, TV pretty loud because her hearing was going. So I just started having a conversation. I didn't say, hey, let's talk about XYZ.
Right.
I just started chatting about, because she used to go down to the local senior center. So I just started having a conversation and gently guided her into what do you want? What do you want? And by the end of the conversation, she told me, I didn't tell her, she told me that she was lonely, that she would love to sell the house and move it into an assisted living facility so she could meet friends and hang out with people her own age. And so I just sort of gently put the oars
Planted
in the
the
water,
seed,
and
yeah.
she did the paddling,
Yeah.
and so she basically laid out the whole thing of, and before she passed, that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
We sold her house, she moved into an assisted living, she was having a ball, she was playing bingo, but she made that decision, and she told us what she wanted to do. And we allowed her to explore that, but then also the toughest part of that talk is if you have waited too long or dementia is pretty much at the doorstep.
Yeah.
We all respect our parents, but we also maybe with the help of a physician or something too, we have to make the decision are they able to make that decision? It's like I don't mean this it's the circle of life. So it's like if you have a toddler who gets mad because you won't let them play out in the front yard near the street,
Right.
they don't have the final say.
Right.
Sorry, you're not playing out. So same with our parents as they age. If there's cognitive impairment, if there's something going on, we want to respect our mom and dad, but it's really tough with a lot of our clients and our adult children is sometimes we have to keep the ball in our possession because mom and dad can't quite make that final decision anymore.
The problem I have is my memory. I forget things. And I'm going to really have to start. I started writing things down, but then I quit. I'm fine. But now I'm going to have to start writing things down so that I remember, because that's my biggest problem right now, other than using the walker, which is fine. I can still walk around fast by that way.
Yeah.
And I still have my driver's license. So a couple of days ago, I went into the garage, got into my Lincoln. It's a 1988 Lincoln.
Classic.
And yes. And it hasn't been driven for quite a while because my son hasn't been driving it. And he usually does. So I got in the car and I just rode around the blocks around the house and did it for about 30 minutes. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so nice sitting in that car, just driving around the streets, locally, because I live across from Friendly Valley. So there's lots of little
Did you have the
side
bass
streets.
turned up really loud where you're like shaking the windows?
There's Barbara
Bouncing.
Barbara's cruising Maine again.
But I thoroughly enjoyed myself just driving around the neighborhoods because I haven't been around there, and just going up into the cul-de-sac and turning around and coming back down and going up another street and turning around. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was so nice.
Yeah.
And knowing that I still had a good driver's license and I wasn't going out onto a busy street, scaring myself and everybody else to death. So,
and nearly a 40-year-old car. I'm trying to think what an 88 Lincoln looked like. Those are pretty stylish cars. Nice, big muscle cars.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful car.
Yeah.
It's still in good shape, except the leather seats are beginning to get a little cracking in them.
Right.
And
that's a great idea as I referred to earlier is go for a drive with your parents this Thanksgiving if you haven't seen them in a year or two. Let them say, let's go see if there's any Christmas lights up. Let's take a drive. You drive, the neighborhood. You don't say you're going to drive. I'm going to watch you and see how you do. Don't do that. But allow them to drive and show you something. And again, just a very subtle observation and just really pay attention.
Yeah. Well, my kids drive. They drive me wherever I want to go, except when I got in the car and just fiddled around in the streets, it was lovely. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But
and that's the toughest too, when, in that same vein is when the conversation has to be had, is it time to give up the keys, give up driving?
Well, I don't want to drive.
Yeah, but you still have the ability. But my point is when someone, is no longer safe to drive and they have to broach that conversation, as far as, and because again, we all deteriorate at different levels. And, it's like if someone came up to me right now because I'm not aware of what I'm doing right or wrong. And they say, we're taking your car keys from you.
Yeah.
Well, you take a long walk off a short pier, it's like, because we don't feel it ourselves at that point. And just think of the independence issue if someone takes your car keys away, especially in, California where there's no public transit.
It's been interesting because I have realized that I am not up here as far as driving all over the place is concerned. I know I'm not.
Yeah.
My mind has a tendency to fly over here when it should be right here.
Yeah.
And it isn't. But in driving the car just around the few blocks that I did, I felt safe doing it because the streets weren't busy.
Right.
It wasn't like Sierra Highway where they fly up and down and scare the daylights out of you, even when you're not driving,
Yeah.
But
On
it was
that
nice.
bombshell, get off the road before Barb gets out. We'll be back in a minute with Myles McNamara from Comfort Keepers. You're listening to the Senior Hour at KHTS FM 98.1 AM 1220 Hometown Station.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with one of our sponsors, Myles McNamara from Comfort Keepers in Home Care. So,
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome back.
So, Myles, you were talking about the Thanksgiving Day visit that may be the only time of year that family gets together, and giving the adult children stuff to look out for and smell and taste and touch and feel and 5 cents the situation to make sure that that phone call every weekend isn't just a performance.
Right.
That, your older loved one is actually up to the task of maintaining their independence, of living on their own, of maintaining their house, of maintaining their health, of being able to handle all of that. So if you would, please.
And as you're doing that, and you're hopefully broaching that conversation we were talking about before the break, as far as, the game plan and what do they see their journey looking like in 5 years, less or more, and I didn't create this, but I'm stealing it, we all know what the golden rule is, right?
The what?
Golden rule.
He who has the gold makes the rules.
Well, that's true. That's one portion. But obviously the golden rule we've grown up is treat others like, you'd like to be treated.
Yeah.
Well, there's another rule above that I think I've mentioned on the show before, and that's the platinum rule. And that is treat others as they want to be treated.
Sure.
Because they may not want to be treated like you. What if you go in there and you've made the choice that you're going to move into an assisted living when you get older, and you're going to do that too, Mom. Well, maybe Mom wants to stay in her own home, which she has the ability to do with Comfort Keepers. But it's so the platinum rule is treat others how they want to be treated, especially in this day and age. It's like, think about how, people want to be treated the way they want to be treated. They don't necessarily want to be treated the way you want to be treated. So understand that with your aging loved ones as well. It's not all about the choices you would make as you get older. It's not all about the choices you think they should make. Is really listen. Take a minute. And that's why we also talked about before the break is if you have this conversation before it's an issue, before it's DEFCON 5, is that the bad one or the good one? DEFCON 1, whichever's the bad one. I don't know
which way it goes.
Well, we'll say DEFCON 5 is,
I
think DEFCON 5 is when everything's all peaceful. So we'll
I
go
think it's
DEFCON
DEF 1. Yeah. One is the
So
scary
don't wait
one.
for it to be DEFCON 1. Because we've all probably experienced, not ourselves, but if we've been at the hospital, we see 2 doors down, the family's out in the hallway arguing about what Mom would have wanted.
Right.
Well, that conversation should have been had before DEFCON 1.
Yes.
So have that conversation, treat folks the way that they want to be treated, have that game plan in place. Don't fail to plan, and that way you won't plan to fail.
Best way to contact you, Myles?
Been on Lyons Avenue for 22 years, but best way is to call us 661-287-4200, 287-4200, or go to comfortkeepers.com.
Perfect. Our sponsor, Myles McNamara, Comfort Keepers. We also are sponsored by Providence Holy Cross and IMAC Med Spa. You've been listening to Senior Hour, KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, HometownStation.com.